basically back to not paying attention to anything pertaining to the presidential, this interminable presidential race. Why can't it just be over already? Why couldn't it have been over 6 months ago? These things just go on way too long. But nevertheless, regarding Ryan Routh, I think that there's something that there's one more thing I want to say about him for now, anyway, and that is this. You see, or I've noticed in the last day or so, this is Wednesday, the attempted assassination on Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida, took place on Sunday. What I have noticed is there's been this effort to claim that Routh was not really that much of an operator, not really that much of a player, not really that well connected at all. You know, he really had a screw loose, and eventually all of the people in Ukraine just got tired of him, and they didn't want anything to do with him anymore, and they kicked him out. And you know, this is sort of what we're hearing right now. It's the desperate effort to try to get people to believe that there was no deep state connection to this attempted assassination. I mean, to me, it just doesn't wash. It doesn't wash at all. I don't buy it. Given that his role was so prominent that he spoke to the media. Again, I've made this point. I made this point in the article that I published at Substack yesterday, but I just want to emphasize it here. You know, this guy was not just some bit player. You know, he as far as the Ukraine effort goes, he became an official recruiter. Now, how do you become an official recruiter of foreign soldiers, i.e. mercenaries, with a special focus on trying to get Afghani soldiers to fight for the Kiev regime in Ukraine? How do you get to that position if you're not connected? It's just, I don't care how enthusiastic you are about the cause. A normal person, a regular person, an ordinary, everyday Joe, an everyman, doesn't get to that position without some connections, without some help. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I think, you know, I don't want to chase after shadows. I don't want to point to this or that. I don't want to scour things, scour social media posts for clues and stuff like that, because that's just sort of, I mean, that's just, I think that's a dead end. I think you go down that route and you just kind of, you find a lot of things that might mean something, but might not. And, you know, you find things that are probably fake or that have been faked to try to, you know, and that if you fall for it, if you bite, then you look foolish, which is probably part of the game. So I'm not doing that. I have no intention to start doing anything like that. But I just want to say that there is no way this guy didn't get help from somewhere. There's no way this guy just did all this on his own. And again, the evidence I give for that is the fact that he played so prominent a role. He was the media spokesman. Again, you can go and see him interviewed by Newsweek. You can see him interviewed by New York Times, Financial Times, and other media outlets. that can be called mainstream or semi-mainstream. He was a prominent face and a prominent voice for the cause. And I just don't think you get to that position just by having a strong conviction. I believe that his conviction, I believe that he got attached to this cause and emotionally attached. There's a part in the Newsweek article where he breaks down, and he always looks like he's kind of on the verge of breaking down. Maybe that would be something interesting to talk about, too. If you watch that Newsweek interview that from 2 years ago, he's and the other interviews that have been the other times that we've seen him, he's very emotional. I think what sets him off in the Newsweek interviews is he's talking about a young man who came to Ukraine and gave up everything to take up the cause, and fight for the Kiev regime. I mean, that's the way I'm going to phrase it, because, again, there are different factions in Ukraine, but the faction that is supported by the Western world to the tune of billions and billions of dollars is the Kiev regime, the regime that is hostile to Russia. So he believed in this cause, and what makes him break down in the Newsweek interview is when he talks about a young man who who gave up everything to be a part of this cause. He was moved by his commitment. But something else that he talks about frequently is how disappointed both in that interview and in the one that you see, I think it's from Semaphore. I think the outlet is called Semaphore. And to my knowledge, at least as of yesterday, the article was still up, which contained this interview. And in that interview, you see him really talking very gloomily about how there ought to be more support. Why isn't the world coming to the defense of, he would say, Ukraine? I would say the Kiev regime in Ukraine. But why isn't the world coming to show their support? And he even published a book called Ukraine, the Unwinnable War. That's pretty black-pilled for a guy who supports the cause, right? I mean, he was maybe accurately, maybe seeing that this wasn't a cause that the world was getting behind, and that the Kiev regime was not doing so well, and so he's obviously very emotionally attached. Now, some might say that's an argument for why he would just choose to go out and do this on his own. And again, there's no way of knowing for sure one way or the other. But I just think the fact that he was so connected, it makes me doubt that this was something he did all on his own. I don't know how he knew where to find Donald Trump, that Donald Trump would be on his golf course on that day. I don't think that was. I don't think they broadcast the whereabouts of Donald Trump every minute of every day, and when he's just on his own golf course and the rest of the course is closed, no one else is golfing on it. Who tipped him off? And how did he obtain access? If he's just some guy, right? You can't just dismiss these questions. And Was he so connected to this cause if he's just some guy? I mean, I think that's the last thing I'm going to say about it. I don't buy that he was just some guy who snapped. I don't buy that.